Welcome, Jennifer Butler.
Thank you. Thank you. So good to reconnect with you
It
and
is,
follow your wonderful life and how you fulfill your dreams and those of people around you.
thank you. It is so great to have you on the Balance Beautiful Abundance show. So, on the show, we divide life into 7 pillars of abundance: your spirituality, your fitness, your emotional, romantic, mental, social, and financial life. And
Beautiful.
I thought, wow, the work that you do and how you teach people to dress as their true, authentic self, it helps all 7 areas of abundance.
I know, I realize that, right? Beautiful. Thank you.
So I have been, I don't know if you realize it, working to get you on the show now ever since I started it in March. And to see you finally here on the Zoom is such
Uh,
an honor and a privilege.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And
Yeah.
your work has helped me so much. I remember meeting you in 2003, and I was dressing in my mom's colors. Remember that?
Right. I do remember that. As I was, right? I know there seems to be a theme here.
Right. And then you taught me how to dress as my authentic self and how to accept my authentic self, which was really amazing because I was kind of new in LA, and it was like coming off the whole Baywatch thing where I thought, wow, to fit in here, you need to have blonde hair, blue eyes, fake boobs, and be anorexic. And that's just not who I am. So
Right.
you taught me to celebrate and accept my true essence and how to dress to accentuate that, from my body type to my coloring to my personality. And I am just so grateful for you. You've been
Mhm.
such a huge mentor.
Thank you. I feel at this age now, I'm 73, I feel like a fairy godmother, right? So I
Yeah.
get to be that for my friends and really the culture at large. And really we're training everybody to move from image to essence, to really dress from the soul. That's the spiritual part that Mother Nature has given us, the key to self. And yet, because we have free choice, and I wanted to talk to you about when I remember having my colors done, and I spent 10 years in the fashion industry. I was trained at Bloomingdales in New York, and I thought, how could I work with fashion and color every day and been so far off? And
Mm-hmm.
so I started really analyzing my clothes, and I realized I was picking things for everybody that I loved,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was attracted to the opposite of myself, all my friends, my family, and I was dressing in their colors instead of my own. So when you do your colors, there's this homecoming to this sense of ownership. So you'll see the beading that I have on is connecting with my eyes. And then I want to show you something. If you look at the two pillows, okay, what I'm going to do is take this one away. And now we've lost the connection on this side with my hair.
Wow.
Now I'm going to add it back in. So what happens is that experience of when you're not in your coloring, it feels like people are seeing you, but you're really not there. You're not really present. And then we're wearing everybody else's colors. So no wonder we're confused, and no wonder most women feel I have a closet full of clothes and nothing to wear, because we're not there. We're not present as ourselves in our clothing choices.
Yes, yes. And I think the movement that you were one of the founders of women coming home to themselves and accepting themselves as far as body type. I mean,
Oh,
there's
yes.
a huge culture now where women are celebrated in every body type, and you see catalogs and ad campaigns with women that are not, the perfect shape, and you see women wearing gray hair. Now it's even in vogue for young girls to wear gray hair
I
because
know, right?
the movement that you created of just, and it's called the
The
true.
True Beauty movement. Yes. I worked with Brandy Alessandra, a very dear friend of mine, and she said, well, what's the bigger story? Like, why are we doing this? And I said, I realize that we have these stories, even about perfection, that we made up. I mean, if you talk to Mother Nature, if we could converse with her right now in spirit, I don't think they'd say, oh, I just want you to know there's this thing called perfection and we all got to strive toward it. It's just unreal. So I think it's taking away all this mythology and all the stories we've been told, particularly in my family, and with your mother and mine. We grew up with the cheerleaders, these delightful, I'll show you the two boards. This is the cheerleader right here. And then this is you and I. So big difference, right?
Yeah.
This is the girl next door and someone who's living in the moment and so joyful and delightful to be with. And then here we are, you know, the drama and the contrast and kind of supporting the world to live in a bigger vision, because in winter on our watch, we reflect the moonlight energy, which is the higher consciousness. You know, what are we going to do for 2021? How are we going to live our life? What are our values as a person? How do we want to live out of our greatest self? So that's what I get to talk about, right? And I do want to honor my teacher. One of the things I feel is really important for women is to really honor source. So
Yeah.
source is the people, obviously, ultimately, it's a universe. But, you know, on the planet, it's the people we've studied with. And this work began with someone by the name of Suzanne Cahill. I studied with her in the early 80s, and she developed the work over 40 years. And her book was called Color, the Essence of You. And she really talked about an inner light. And I remember at the end of her lecture, she would say, you know, there's something about when we come into the world, this connection that we have to a life force. And the life force each season is different, and each season follows a function. So in the spring, it's all about new creation. And the springs are the givers of joy. And they're saying, you know, the long winter's over, and now here we are. We have this new chance to spring forth and to remember that tomorrow's a new day. Then we move from creation to what we call sustained energy. This is the earth living in a state of grace. So this is the twilight. This is the gentlemen and the ladies, and kind of in a way the persona of England, where I think this spring is more the persona of our country, right? So these people are the researchers and the teachers and the healers, because they understand the process of what it takes to kind of like calm down and listen to the earth, listen to ourselves, and to do the research, right? They're the ones that are going to
About
do.
that, Jennifer, what you just said about we're the spring and England's are the summer. There was a sign outside a pub in England that said all Americans must be accompanied by an adult.
Yeah, that's so great. That's so true, right? And we, in a way, you can take that as there's this level of irresponsibility, right? Because we've got it all and we're the leaders, and yet I think we're catching up to what everybody is going on with the rest of the planet and becoming more adult.
Yes.
So as the story goes on, then we harvest the energy in autumn. So autumns are like, you know, when I work with an autumn, I always say this is the result we're after, because they're very result oriented. They're trying to harvest the crops, right, and get that in before the long winter. So they're lit with fire. We call the man the rugged guy, and the woman the lioness, the protector. And then for winter, our man is the hero and we're the priestess, right? So this looking from above, I think what we learn is how to live in the gray of life, because we have this black and white discernment. We can hold extremes, we can be extreme. We can either be the hero or the villain, as the story goes. But I feel like there's a whole sense of mastery without having it have to be about perfection, right? Because that's all made up anyway.
I love
So
that.
that's the story of the planet. Now, when we do the colors are done individually, and I wanted to show you mine. So it's sort of like, I remember my teacher saying, you know, we weren't thrown here by mistake. There is this larger purpose. There's a larger intent to who we are. So this is what my palette looks like. So we give you 3 basics. So mine is the silver of my hair, the black, and a dark bronze. And then I also have a neutral red. So these are the basics of my life. So if I were going to create my home or buy 3 basic outfits, it would be these. The eye color is the mirror of the soul. So even though my eyes are brown, the lights of them are amber. So I would wear that when I'm in negotiating or wanting to feel balance. The skin tone is self-love and intimacy. You can see a little bit on the wall right behind me in the screen. And then we all get a shade of red. So red could be pink, orange, or crimson, or carnation. And then we get 3 accent colors.
Red is your romance.
Right. Yeah, the romance. Then we have 3 accent colors, pastels, which are options, prints, and metals. So the other thing about these palettes, and what I want to acknowledge my teacher for, she said, there's already harmony in the universe. If we just look for that, the colors are done as a harmonic. So just to be scientific for a minute, I have what we call a red, yellow, blue triad and a yellow to violet complement. So some people have analogous harmony, some people have what we call split complements, but because this is harmonized to me, now I can have a harmonious wardrobe, right? And everything I put in my closet works, and I save time and money.
Absolutely. And I really love how the colors are reflective not only of your eye color, your hair color, your skin tone, but also of your personality and your soul essence.
Yes,
So I
exactly.
think it's incredible work that you're doing just to celebrate you, because not only do people, especially women, feel like they have to change their body type and to look younger, but women up until recently, with this recent surge of feminism, have felt like they had to suppress their power. I know I did. Like I felt like,
Mhm.
oh, I have to be more quiet and my personality is too strong and I overpower people and I need to be more like diminutive. And winters are very powerful. They're very intense.
Mhm.
They're very dramatic. And
Right.
you taught me how to celebrate that. So not only are you teaching people to celebrate their natural coloring, their body type, and even their personality. So I want
Yes.
you to just, if you could go a little bit into, I know you have a huge body of work and so many awesome classes, which guys, I've completed her whole curriculum and it's awesome. So each personality or each color has different gradations of personalities. Can you speak a little bit into that? Because I know I'm a romantic winter.
Romantic winter, right. So in the spring, we start, let's get that card out again. We start with the early spring. So the early spring would be someone probably like Gwyneth Paltrow, and
Mm-hmm.
then golden spring would be more like Reese Witherspoon. And then we have floral, which would be like Jennifer Garner, right? And then we have a vital spring, which would be like a Sally Field, or trying to think of who else is vital. Um, what's McCarthy, the one that does the wonderful comedian? Isn't her name
Jenny
McCarthy?
McCarthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, or Amy Schumer.
Amy's probably more of a golden spring, but
Yeah.
you can see they definitely are the woman of the moment in terms of, I think in ancient times, the spring would have been the court jester. So
Yeah.
the we have here, that's why the colors are done individually. Your palette is totally different than mine, right?
Right. Right.
Um, but the whole idea is that you generate the joy. Now let's say, I mean, that seems so easy. Like, why wouldn't you do that as a spring? Because you're told you're too much when
Yeah.
you're little. You're told you're too much. So then if you're too much, then all of a sudden you have to be grown up, and then they default to winter because they think winter looks grown up,
Mm.
right? So we borrow from the other seasons instead of being ourselves out of whatever fear, right? So if
Yeah.
I'm the fear of being too much. For the summers, I would say it's more the fear of not being strong, because they are the divine feminine.
Yes.
So their personality, even if they're a top executive, they do better when they bring the energy to them. But because they're trained to be a type A personality, right, they default to their masculine. And
Mm-hmm.
that makes you very ill, right? So when you are not yourself and you're not in your own constellation of vibrational color, that's what creates a lot of illness, because you're pushing yourself.
Yes.
This person pushes themselves to be something they're not. So their invitation is to really own their vulnerability,
Mm. And
really express how they feel,
yeah.
right? And to really bring that to wherever they are. If they're in a corporate setting, great. Because unless any scenario has a balance of the masculine and feminine, that's what we keep trying to work with. And the summers understand that they're the leaders in that,
Yes.
right? So
It's
the
funny.
autumn, yep.
I was in a meeting on a Zoom, leading a Zoom meeting in a group that I'm in yesterday or the day before, and someone's like, Rebecca's leading from her masculine, and I'm uncomfortable with that. And I thought, wow, I thought I was being like powerful and authentic and inspiring. like true, like true to myself. And so I'm thinking, wow, she must have been a summer, because she's like, I don't want to create that business that way. I want it to just come to me.
Oh, very good. Very good. So she was just looking at the way it needed to work for her in her life. But so wonderful. The thing that also you did that I want to acknowledge you for is because you're definitive, what happens is then people have to, you give them this like, okay, I'm here. And then I can say, well, I'm not really there. But unless something is here standing for itself, we learn from the contrast, and the contrast is good. Right? Then you took a stand for yourself, and then she got to see what would work for her. And that's one of our gifts. It can feel like, oh no, I lost somebody, and yet that's
Yeah.
not really true, right?
And what I'm learning about leadership is it's okay to be polarizing. And winter is very extreme. It's like great leaders are often polarizing because they're taking a stand, and it's okay if, like that saying is, I'm not for everyone, and that's okay.
Yes, yes. It's that black and white discernment. And I even say, I mean, if I went shopping, and I do a lot of shopping for people, and
Oh,
I
I
said,
know.
well, I'm
You're
not really sure about this outfit. I have to really think about my advice. No, I'm saying yes or no. And I'm saying that with the colors, because I have to bring you into physical form. I have to really take a stand for who the person is. So I work with my definitiveness. It's my gift.
And I will tell you, who are listening to the podcast, if you can go shopping with Jennifer, I know we're still in COVID, but when COVID ends, one of the greatest joys of my life is going shopping with Jennifer. Like,
Yeah, it's so great.
I still have like so many of the clothes you've picked out for me, and they're things that I never would have picked out for myself. But it's like,
So,
the gift, one of the many gifts you have, is you see the next stage of somebody's growth, development, and
yeah.
unfoldment. And it's like the movie Field of Dreams, right? Build it and they will come. Like, if you dress
Yes.
as your next level, you become your next level. And that's happened to me every time we've gone shopping. So if you get a chance to shop,
Uh,
do it.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to go to the Mart. I've done a lot of shopping online. I worked with someone from Switzerland and did her wardrobe, and then someone was from the East Coast, someone from Wisconsin. So for me, it's very easy to give you the suggestions. Um, in fact, I started really with shopping. The colors, I think my story is that the colors was sort of, oh, like, what is this thing? I'm in the fashion industry, and I knew everything that was going on. And I know this thing off over here to the side. But I thought, I'm going to just know about it. And I worked 3 different times to learn it. And then finally, I found my teacher, the one who created the whole thing. And she finally accepted me. She didn't want me because I had a fashion background. She said, fashion and authenticity don't necessarily go hand in hand. You got to make a commitment to the inner self and how that's brought out. And, fashion doesn't necessarily do that. You have to know yourself before you go shopping and keep making the same mistakes,
And
right?
just so you know about Jennifer, she has a degree in spiritual psychology from Santa Monica University. So
Yeah.
what I love about your teachings is not only have you studied fashion and the colors, and you're very spiritually and psychologically studied too, which just
Mhm.
makes just a full 300. You're more of a teacher than just a fashion stylist. Like,
Right.
you incorporate everything. It's a holistic way of dressing and even being your true self, which is just so amazing.
Oh, thank you. I was there for 5 years, and they had a program where Ron and Mary said, okay, let's train facilitators to carry on the work. So I was in that class, and there were 80 of us, and I think half of us graduated. So I am trained to share the first, I think there's 12 principles that I have license, to share with others. So
To
for
talk
me,
about that next, the 12 principles of design you're talking about.
no, the spiritual psychology from USM, right? They have
Oh,
12 principles, and you have to be certified to teach them. So there's about 40 of us. So I was in the initial class. But I do like to talk about design. Let's see, what do I want to say about that? So the colors is sort of this energetic constellation that kind of, if there were a blank page, and then all of a sudden you show up, that's the kind of work I do, right? So the other part of the validation of who we are is the sacred geometry. And you can look it up. They have pictures of Michelangelo and paintings and shells and Mother Nature, and they show this kind of spiral. So that sacred geometry is how our body is created. And so I work with 7 art principles that come from Mother Nature. So we're looking at what is the contrast? You know, what is the greatest contrast? Look at the contrast here between the summer and the winter. So this is blended and this is contrasting.
Right.
Right. So the essential nature here is blending color. The essential nature here is contrasting. Then we look at proportion and scale and texture, complexity, geometry, all of those things, and we apply it directly to you. So when you go shopping and say, I want to buy a new pair of earrings, we're looking at the shape of the features and the face for that information. Like everything we have is all within. And that's very empowering for people. Like I don't have to look at someone else, or I don't have to look outside. It creates this self-trust and self-nurturing that I was always looking for.
Absolutely. So what did you learn from being a stylist at Bloomingdale's for getting your start in New York City? And then how did you go from that to even hearing about and studying the colors? Like, I just want to put your whole story together, because I've known you as this master spiritual teacher and color stylist, but I didn't really know about your early years in New York City at Bloomingdale. So how did it all come?
I was there in 1969, right after college. And so it was kind of the hit, you know, it took over kind of the stores from Fifth Avenue, Lord and Taylor and Saks, and kind of brought it to the uptown. And also at my time there, they went from couture to what they call pret-a-porter. So all the top designers had their $3,000 gown, and then pret-a-porter was a ready-to-wear line. So all of that happened when I was in New York. So it was a very exciting time. I took the S training in 1978, and then got involved with the Hunger Project. And there was, I got a call, and this woman said, I'm from the Hunger Project, and there's this huge meeting. All the hunger organizations are getting together in New York City, and we want you to dress the moderator. And I said, well, I don't really do that. And they said, well, we don't have anybody else. I said, okay, I have a few contacts. So she arrived from California, and she had this color fan, you know, just like my book, but it was in a fan.
Right.
I had this experience of, you know how you like look at something and you say, oh, I like it.
That you helped me.
Yeah, there you go. There's your fan. So I looked at that, and I had this experience of her. Like all of a sudden, it wasn't about the colors and whether I liked them. It was that I saw more of who she was. I saw her essence. And when we went shopping, all we could find was a pink suit. And we both kept laughing about it. So New York City, we couldn't find black to fit, navy, none of the basics. And she said it revolutionized the seminar because the pink was the color of intimacy and fellowship. And she brought the whole community together just in that instant by what she was wearing. And so then I came to California. I lived in an ashram. It was with Guru Mai and Muktananda. And that's really how I found the color work. We had a roommate that moved in, and she said, well, I've had my colors done by the master, and her name is Suzanne Cagill. And so I did interview you with her, and she said, no, I won't train you. And then about a year later, her book was coming out, and I was at Bullock's, and I could promote her. And so I promoted her, and we did this big fashion show. And then I signed like a non-competitive agreement with her, and then studied with her.
So you were at a department store.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I was their personal shopper.
Okay,
yeah.
She wasn't going to train you, and then you said, I'll promote your book at my department store, and then she said, okay, I'm going to train you now and teach you what I know.
Yeah. And then I helped her teach about 3 academies. I was really very devoted to her and traveled around the country, but she passed away without really teaching us how to type people. So that kind of was my journey. Like if I had met you and gone by your temperament, I could have made you a vital spring.
Yeah.
Right. And so all my clients taught me, how to do it, because I would get stuck in their personality because it's more of a soul's journey. And then I would say, this doesn't feel right. So it really took a long time. You know, people would dye their hair red, I'd make them autumn, then they'd come back 5 years later with their real hair color. So it was really all of my wonderful clients. I worked with over 7,000 people in 40 years,
Wow.
who've really been my teacher, right? And it's really not about me being right, it's me getting my own self aside so that spirit works through, and then you show up as your true self, and I get to have the privilege of witnessing that.
It's almost like being a psychic, because I know my personality has spring tendencies, but my essence is winter. And I know there's other people that are attempting to do this work. And I had a friend go to one of them and they said she was spring, but I knew she was autumn. Like I knew her soul was autumn. And it
Mhm.
takes so much intuition and such a gift to
Yeah.
read somebody's soul essence more than just their personality.
Yes, you have to really get beyond the surface and not read how people are coming in. That's why I interview them on Zoom now. Like I have an interview this morning, so I know she's between one of two things. So she'll show me her clothes and we'll do this interview, and I'll be able to tell right away what she is. And then I do the colors, and then we go over it when they receive it in the mail. Um, what else did I want to say about the color experience? I think it's sometimes, you know, we have this judgment about ourselves. That's what I learned in spiritual psychology, is we have this misinterpretation of ourselves. So for you and I, we were meant to pattern like our mothers, right? And we tried that, and we tried to, maybe did a good job or we didn't, but
Right.
that's a false identification. So the colors sort of shift you. It's a turnabout. And then you finally, you know, look at yourself and say, oh, I really like my brown eyes. I thought I wanted blue, but you know, my brown eyes they're part of me. They're what make me who I am. So there's this kind of love affair that you have with yourself, but it's in gratitude to the universe. And then you're dressing as a contribution to others. So I'm dressing in my power color, you're dressed in more as support, right? So we're both representing an expression, right, that's allowing people to be with us.
Right. And we're drawing people in because I'm showcasing you and your expertise. So I'm in my support and you're the expert. So you're in your power color. So it's
Power color.
perfect.
Exactly, exactly. You know, when I was on with the men, I was wearing my skin tone, right? Which is so that I would be in support of the man and in relationship with my audience and with him. So that's the other thing, you get to say, what is my intention today, or being on Zoom or on this date, or how do I want to be with people? And then you use that aspect of your colors to create that happening. So you're being responsible for who you are in any given moment.
And I love about intention, because that's really kind of a trendy word now in spiritual circles, is having an intention before you go into a meeting or before you go into a Zoom call. And the colors that you wear and how you dress, it highlights the intention. You can
Yes,
have
it does.
intention to like be a powerful leader, but then if you're wearing like the wrong style or the wrong color, it can actually work against your intention. So the way you teach people to dress in their essence and in their colors, it heightens your intention.
Yes, right. It stands behind it and gives it energy. It supports it. So if I said today, you know, I feel like I really want to be kind of softer, then I could wear my skin tone. But if I said I really want to be powerful and I was wearing a neutral, then the neutral isn't very empowering, right? So it's an important thing to teach people. That was a very big thing about at USM, is what is our intention? We could have a bedtime intention, we could have an intention for the day, what's the intention for this class? Because what it does, it focuses and it clarifies, because the human mind can go off in so many directions.
Mm-hmm. So
Hmm.
speaking of romance and what to wear on dates, I know that a lot of women are dating on Zoom, or they're having socially distanced, very casual dating, meeting for coffee or walks. I wanted you to give them advice on how to show up on Zoom as their best selves, and should they wear their skin tone
Yeah.
or romantic color or what?
So this is you can see how this softens me, right? this
Mm-hmm.
soft peach family. So that's what I recommend. So no matter what's happening, you're creating friendship and safety and fellowship with the other person. Um, the red comes much later. Like on a second or third, I have a neutral red. I could wear that. But the bright red is really, highly intentional that I'm sharing my passion with that person. So I usually wear the skin tone. If we're going to have a discussion about some very, like, say, financial matters or something like that, I might wear my eye color, right? Because that's all about balance. And if he's saying, I really want to have a talk with you, I need some support on this issue, right? Then I would wear my support color. So part of it is how you want to be in each situation. So if
Mm-hmm.
I want to really be safe, right, and inviting and soft, right, then I would wear the skin tone as the first. So that's what I recommend, is
That's
to wear that, because then you're really not wasting anyone's time and you're being vulnerable. And you're from the feminine, we're always saying this is how I feel, which of course is the keystone to any relationship. A
right.
man is going to respond to protecting your feelings.
Yes.
And so, in a way, it forces you into your feminine side.
Yes, and I love how you say to have your bed cover, your bedspread, your passion color. So how does that work? How does that help you pull in your passionate soulmate lover?
Well, the bedroom is the domain of the woman, right? And even in a marriage. So I'm doing a couple now, and she put the bedroom in his colors, and I said, well, I don't think so. Like, he can have the dining room or the family room or his office, but we need to reclaim the romance for you. And she's doing some of the skin tone, and then doing some whites, and then she's doing the accent in the pillows, right, and bed skirt in her red. Some people like the burgundy, like some people are looking for their red bedspread. That's all depending on, in a way, their personality and the way that you interact with your partner. But the reds become very important. And all the colors, you can see you're singing on key. If we're listening to a radio station, we're coming in loud and clear, right? There's no static. Yeah.
So can wearing the wrong colors and the wrong styles attract the wrong kind of man for a woman?
I think so. Often when you dye your hair, that's
Mm-hmm.
a big one, because a lot of women dye their hair overly blonde, and let's say they're trying to look like this, but they're this person. So look at the difference here. Right,
Mm-hmm.
this is very soft and muted, but they've decided, oh no, I can't win somebody like this. I have to be the girl next door. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's very confusing because the men, are very attracted visually.
Yes.
So I would be confused if I'm this person and I'm trying to wear this, right? Then it makes sense, very mixed cues. Yeah.
And I think women think that blondes get the guys more, or dressing super sexy gets the guys more. And if you're a winter like me, or a summer, and if you have, bleached blonde hair, first of all, your hair gets totally fried, so it doesn't look healthy. And then you dress super sexy, you can attract the wrong type of attention and the wrong type of guy. You might attract a narcissist, or someone who's emotionally unavailable, or somebody who just thinks of you as a trophy and not a fully actualized human being. So I
Yeah.
think your work is so important for women who are looking to attract the right kind of man.
Yes. I think when you come home to yourself, there's such a thing as confidence, but what I would say, what we want is the inner confidence and then the outer confidence, and that they're dancing together. And this work gives you the inner confidence because you're whole and complete. I'm whole and complete dressed as this. I'm not to dress this where I'm then confusing somebody. And I don't know what you would do this. So this is what I used to do. So you can imagine when my mother had her colors done and I had mine. So she was this, and I became this.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have something. And what's interesting in my family structure, I have 5 brothers. I'm the only girl, and I was more like my father. So the colors was so important for me to get, clarity. And I definitely hold my own with my brothers. They love me in my colors. Several of them have had their colors done. They wear their colors. So, my teacher worked with Virginia Satir, who developed family therapy,
Mhm.
because she said every person has to have their own identity, and
Mhm.
then they feel strong within themselves. And if I feel strong within myself, I don't have to argue with you, right? I don't have to want what you want. I don't have to take your space in any way by wearing something that belongs to you. So when we belong to ourselves, that's where the power is.
Yeah, and it's not only trusting ourselves, but it's trusting the universe and trusting God, because what I learned from you is God is the ultimate beautician. God is
Yeah.
the ultimate colorist and wardrobe stylist, and just celebrating what God gave me, because I used to get my hair blown out every week and I had like blonde highlights, and you were like, "No, you look better with your hair curly and darker." And I
Yeah.
mean, it was trusting what?
I said, you already saved a lot of money there, right?
Oh yeah, but it's trusting God as the ultimate beautician. It's almost like a surrender to
Yeah.
like what is, and that you're enough. And I really want to just end on what you said about not arguing, because to tie
Yeah.
it into your master's in spiritual psychology, I think we're living in a world that is divisive. It's into arguing. There's anger, there's a lot of hatred going on between like the two political parties, and just there's so much contention in the world. I personally believe in not arguing. Like, I believe that it lowers your vibration,
Right.
and you can speak your truth and listen to someone speak their truth and acknowledge it without arguing. So could you speak into that as a spiritual practitioner as well as a colorist?
Yeah, I think um, when arguing is like, to me, it's a misinterpretation. It's when I'm arguing there, then there's an invitation to self-heal myself. So
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean for me? Like, what am I kind of stuck with within myself? So
Mm-hmm.
then I would go in and say, this is my list of my judgments.
Yes.
And then I would look at the forgiveness. Like, I'm judging myself. I judge myself for not being perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So I forgive myself for the misinterpretation that there is an idea of perfection in the world, right? That's made up. And
Yeah.
I reframe that I'm perfect as I am. The universe has created me perfect. So they, whenever there's an argument, there's the flag that it's my inner work.
Yeah.
Even when I'm judging opponents on TV, if I side with one more than the other, like, what's that about for me? What is that, protecting myself? Where can I function the best from a neutral place?
Yes.
Yeah, right. In USM, we had three positions. We had the facilitator, we had the person who was being healed, and then we had the neutral observer. So if I can be neutral, I mean, that's what gurus are teaching us, right? In 1980, when I was living in the ashram, how do you be in a neutral place where everything is okay just as it is? And
Yes.
how can I even make the arguing okay? That was what they're learning. That's their journey.
Mm-hmm.
That's their journey. I don't need to judge it as bad or good, but I can be there holding the light for myself and for them, and I can say, then I can be committed to arguing less with people in my life, right?
Yes.
So then it's staying with me and I'm empowering myself and others. And the other thing I invite people to do is dress in their light. The colors allow you to be your living light. And so when you're a living light, you're the example for everybody else. So I go out, I do my errands, I'm always dressed up. That's
Mm-hmm.
just what I've got committed to, because I know it's my life force at stake here, right?
Yes.
And that's important to me.
Well, to go back, I love the point you just made. It's about to tie it back into your work about loving and accepting yourself. It's about non-judgment. It's
Yeah,
about people are exactly where they're supposed to be on their spiritual journey, and
yeah,
that's okay. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I don't have to judge myself. I don't have to be perfect. I can accept, and then in your work, celebrate myself for exactly who I am,
exactly.
where I'm at, and then share that light with the world and just let people be where they're at. Not everybody has the same point of view. Not everybody has the same colors or the same season. And that's what makes life interesting. If everybody always was in agreement or dressed the same, how boring
Mhm.
would that be? I mean, I'm from Cincinnati,
Exactly.
Ohio, And when I was in high school in the late 80s, everybody looked like they were right out of a Gap ad. I mean, how boring is
Oh,
that?
right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I feel like we're at a very important time in the planet spiritually because it is about the non-judgment, and we have such polarization. So in a way, we can hold that polarization, and no, and everything that's come up is coming up to be healed, right? And that we have within us the resources to do that. You know, we as a planet, and when we walk in celebration of who we are, we raise the vibration of everybody.
Yes. It's a huge reinvention right now. It's a
Mhm.
reinvention energetically with our social justice movements, as feminism and racial justice, and personally, because people are having to pivot and reinvent themselves to take their business online. So I encourage you guys, if you are listening to this, I know if you're listening on the podcast, you can't see all the beautiful palettes and colors that Jennifer held up. I encourage you to find the video on YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel under Rebecca Whitman. I really want you to see the colors that she's holding up. And she's also holding up beautiful collages that show the essence and the personality type of the different seasons. So please find the video on YouTube. It's worth it. And
Yeah.
if you want to reinvent yourself, the best way to do it is to work with a master stylist and colorist like Jennifer, so you can show up in your life differently. So Jennifer, how do people get in touch with you?
You know, it's jenniferbutlercolor.com, but we have a free quiz. We have a beautiful slideshow with music for each season and a free quiz that people can take. And we have a membership site and a 90-day course now. And of course, I'm able to do the color and design online. So we have a full curriculum, you know, a self-study program with me that really empowers you. So yeah, we invite you to do, particularly right after our speaking, is to go online and to do the free quiz. But watch the slideshow first with the music, and then do the quiz after that. And then it talks about if you are a spring, the spring is the giver of joy, the summer is the giver of grace, the autumn is the giver of abundance, and the winter of reflection and meditation and mastery. So it's all there, right? A love story.
Take the quiz, find out what season you are. It will change your life. Watch the free slideshow. Thank you so much, Jennifer. You
Yeah.
are balanced, beautiful, and abundant. So you're the perfect expert for the Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant podcast. And
Thank you.
everyone who's listening, please share this message with someone. We don't have sponsors, so we humbly and kindly ask that you share this message with your friends. I know it will empower so many people that you know to know their essence and to know their colors and to lift their vibration. So thank you so much for listening, everyone.
Oh,
Thank
you
you
know,
so
also,
much.
Rebecca, we have a free event on November 7th at 10 a.m.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, they can register and send their email. So we send them the Evite, and we're going to be talking about the design, the geometry,
Nice.
right? And so it's an hour long, and we would love to include people. So it's free for everybody for the first time. Yeah.
Oh, good. So check out her free class, and they can find that on jenniferbutlercolor.com, correct?
Yeah, or just email, right? And then we can send you the Evite, right?
So I will put your email in the show notes, but just
Right.
what is it? Do you want to go ahead and say your email out loud?
It would probably be the best one is Jennifer at jenniferbutlercolor.com. That's the business email.
Perfect. And I
Yeah.
will add that in the show notes. So once again, everyone, thank you for listening to the Balanced, Beautiful, and
Yeah.
Abundant show. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for
Thank you.
your 40 years of dedication to supporting and empowering people to be their true selves. You have done such a beautiful body of work, and I'm so grateful that you are one of my mentors. And
Thank
thank you for
you.
being on the show.
Thank you. Yeah.